What if an ancient text holds the ultimate uh, psychological secret to our modern obsession with branding, social media filters and that whole culture of faking it till you make it?
It's a pretty massive question.
Right. Today, we are exploring why the absolute highest form of packaging yourself is actually no packaging at all.
It's totally counterintuitive.
It really is. And hey, before we jump in, if you want to explore these concepts further after we wrap up today, you can actually download the YOAIW app. It is now available on the Apple App Store.
Highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah. And you could also grab the book, The Mind Key to the I Ching, which is officially available on Amazon Books.
They are honestly fantastic tools to really integrate the stuff we're about to discuss into your daily life.
Absolutely. So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to explore the psychology of the social masks we wear every single day. We're basically looking at this brilliant framework derived from an I Ching hexagram known as B.
Right, which roughly translates to adornment or grace.
Exactly. So we're talking about the delicate art of packaging our true selves to survive in a highly competitive world without, sliding into this hollow, exhausted fakeness.
Which happens to so many people.
It does. And before we really get into the weeds here, I think we need to set the table. When we talk about this ancient text, we aren't talking about, like, fortune-telling, are we?
Oh, not at all, no. It is much more productive to look at this framework as, well, one of the oldest maps of human behavioral patterns.
Like a psychological blueprint.
Exactly. It's a study of how people react to their environments, how power dynamics shift, and basically how internal psychology meets external reality.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And to really grasp the specific concept of adornment, you have to visualize the structure of this particular hexagram. It's made of two distinct elements.
Okay, lay it on me.
So at the top, you have a mountain. At the bottom, you have fire.
Okay, let's unpack this visual. A mountain and fire.
Yeah, so imagine a dark, raw, brutalist mountain of solid rock. I mean, it is unmoving, rigid, harsh, but it's being illuminated from below by a warm, flickering fire.
Oh, that's a cool image.
It is, right? The fire reveals all these textures and colors in the stone that were always there, but it softens the harsh, sharp edges of the rock.
So it makes the mountain look less intimidating.
Exactly. It makes the brutal reality of the mountain approachable. And that really captures the core dilemma we face every day.
Which is what, exactly?
The delicate balance between our raw internal impulses, which is the fire, and the polite, structured, sometimes really harsh boundaries of society, which is the mountain.
That makes total sense.
Okay.
Because we all have that, internal chaos, but we have to package it somehow so we can actually function in civilized society.
Precisely.
But before we look at the trajectory of, like, a career or a life through this lens, we should probably establish the ground rules of packaging ourselves.
Yeah. There are basically three foundational mindsets here. The first is understanding that the mask is a social buffer.
A social buffer. Okay.
Right, because we often culturally demonize this idea of wearing a mask. We treat it like it's inherently deceptive.
Like you're being fake.
Exactly. But raw, unfiltered truth is often pretty spiky and abrasive.
Oh, for sure. If you walked into a crowded coffee shop and just, like, started broadcasting your raw, unfiltered internal monologue.
It wouldn't end well.
Right. You'd probably be asked to leave.
Right.
Or arrested.
Yeah, exactly. So putting on a polite, professional, or social mask isn't necessarily deceitful. It acts as a necessary shock absorber.
Okay, I like that. A shock absorber.
Right. It lubricates human interaction so we don't just constantly collide and injure each other. It's how we create a safe environment for collaboration.
I totally see the value in that padding. But let me push back for a second here.
Sure, go for it.
If that padding is so crucial for navigating society, why not just invest all our energy into building the best possible mask? Like, why not just become a master of packaging?
Well, because of the second foundational rule, packaging doesn't win the war.
Oh, okay. Let's unpack this one too.
Think about it through a modern lens, like a high-stakes job interview.
Okay, yeah.
A sharply tailored suit, a brilliantly designed resume, and a perfectly rehearsed elevator pitch. That is your packaging.
Right, that's your mask.
And that buffer might get you past the lobby. I mean, it might even secure you the job, but what happens on day 30?
Oh, the reality check happens. If you don't actually know how to manage the spreadsheet or lead the team, the mask just completely fails.
Exactly. Tactical charm gets your foot in the door, but it cannot substitute for core competence.
Yeah, you can't charm your way out of a burning building if you don't actually know where the exits are.
That's a perfect way to put it. The structure beneath the adornment has to be sound. Which brings us to the third mindset, and honestly, the ultimate goal of this entire psychological journey.
Which is
A concept called white bee.
white bee, meaning like unadorned grace.
Yes. The absolute highest level of packaging yourself is when you are so confident in the raw material of who you are or what you've built that you just stop wearing makeup altogether. You don't need the clever bio. You just present the raw, unfiltered truth because the truth is just that solid.
Man, but nobody just wakes up one day as a fully actualized person operating with zero ego, you know?
Definitely not.
It requires a process. So how do we actually walk this path in our own lives?
Yeah.
It seems like we have to start at the ground floor and, I don't know, learn how to wear the mask properly first.
You do.
But we have to build the fire before we can illuminate the mountain.
That is exactly the journey. The framework walks us through this trajectory, beginning with the initial spark of energy.
Okay, where does it start?
The text uses this really fascinating metaphor for the starting phase. It calls it decorating the toes and leaving the carriage to walk.
Leaving the carriage. That feels incredibly counterintuitive to how a lot of people operate today,
Oh, completely.
especially in the era of social media, right?
Right.
It feels like the direct opposite of think it till you make it.
It is the absolute antidote to fake it till you make it. Decorating the toes means focusing your initial energy entirely on the part of you that actually touches the ground.
The part doing the actual work.
Exactly, the part that does the heavy lifting. You are actively rejecting the carriage because the carriage represents the flashy, unearned shortcut.
Okay, think about this in terms of startup culture.
Yeah, great example.
If you are launching a new business, taking the carriage would be like renting some fancy downtown co-working space you definitely can't afford,
Right.
or buying fake followers to look established, and printing business cards that label you the CEO before you've even made a single sale.
You're basically suspending yourself in midair with absolutely no foundation beneath you.
But decorating the toes means you are sitting in your garage, you know, coding the website yourself or physically walking door to door to get your first 3 clients.
You are refusing to rent a flashy lifestyle.
Right.
And we really should look at the cognitive mechanism behind this. The brilliant psychology here is all about protecting your own mental health long term.
How so?
Well, when you start with grounded, unglamorous grunt work, you are physically wiring your brain to know that you actually belong in the room.
Oh, wow.
You never have to suffer the anxiety of imposter syndrome later on. You don't wake up in a cold sweat wondering if people will discover you're a fraud because you literally aren't one. You have felt the real weight of the work.
That is so powerful. So you build that unshakable foundation in the garage.
Right.
But I mean, eventually you do have to leave the garage. You have to take that product into a corporate boardroom or step into a larger social circle.
You do.
So how do you adapt to that new environment without losing yourself?
That leads right to the next third of the journey, which the framework describes as decorating the beard.
Decorating the beard.
Yeah.
I find this metaphor really curious.
Think about the physical nature of a beard. A beard has absolutely no independent movement. It cannot decide to turn left or right on its own. It merely follows the chin. Wherever the jaw goes, the beard goes.
Right, yeah.
Psychologically, this represents a state of low-energy camouflage.
Low energy camouflage.
Yeah.
Okay, let's apply this to an everyday scenario for you listening. Imagine it is your first month at a massive bureaucratic tech firm.
Classic scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't walk in on day one and try to disrupt the entire corporate culture with your unique personality.
That would be exhausting.
Right. You buy the standard office wardrobe, you know, maybe that ubiquitous fleece vest everyone wears.
Yeah. The Midtown uniform.
Exactly. You learn the specific jargon your new boss uses. You start saying, let's circle back to blend in.
You are decorating your beard. You're making surface-level adjustments to match the environment.
But wait, isn't that just selling out? Like, if I'm wearing a fleece vest I don't even like and using corporate speak just to fit in, aren't I being exactly the kind of fake we are trying to avoid?
That's a very common concern. But we really have to differentiate between a protective social mask and losing your actual identity. Okay. Blending in during this phase isn't about selling out. It is about energy conservation.
Energy conservation.
Yeah, when you adopt the local customs, you reduce friction. You don't waste precious cognitive calories fighting the dress code or arguing over jargon.
Oh.
You save that energy for the actual work. You know, the jaw underneath the beard.
Ah, so the camouflage lets you move freely to accomplish the real mission.
Precisely. It is highly pragmatic. However, there is a serious danger zone here.
What's the trap?
The trap is allowing the beard to grow so big that it basically swallows your actual face.
Yikes.
Yeah. When all your energy goes into adapting to what other people want you to be, you lose your core contours. You become nothing but a reflection of the room you're standing in.
You forget you even have a jaw.
Right. But assuming you navigate that successfully, your career progresses. Your energy continues to rise, the fire gets hotter, and you reach the peak of that internal fire phase.
And the framework calls this state glossy and wet.
No.
Right.
Yes. It means the packaging, the external adornment, has reached its absolute beautiful peak. It's totally saturated with color and light. The fire is burning at maximum capacity.
This is the part that fascinates me, honestly.
Yeah.
Because from the outside, this glossy peak looks like the ultimate dream.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the quintessential influencer lifestyle with millions of followers. Or the startup that just landed a massive PR campaign. The stock is way up, everyone is applauding.
So it looks perfect.
But internally, there's a very different reality going on.
Internally, there is often absolute terror.
Terror.
Yeah, and it comes down to a concept we can call the maintenance bill.
The maintenance bill.
Right. This is the physiological and psychological cost of sustaining a perfect persona. Because the better the character you play on stage, the higher the cost to take off the makeup in the dressing room.
It's the pressure of living up to the hype.
Exactly. It's the cognitive dissonance of managing two totally different realities. If your core reality, like your actual day-to-day operations, your true mental state, your real bank account, isn't constantly feeding and supporting that glowing public image, the facade is going to dry up and crack.
Right, because the maintenance bill is always due.
Always. And the danger here is becoming a hollow shell, living in constant fear of a load-bearing wall collapsing. You are just terrified someone will look behind the curtain and see the messy truth.
Man, the anxiety of that must be exhausting. Your brain is essentially working overtime to track the distance between who you really are and who you are pretending to be.
And physics dictates that a fire can only soar so high before it runs out of oxygen.
True.
You cannot live at that glossy peak forever. The energetic cost is simply unsustainable.
And that reality check forces a transition. Because we can't just stay on fire forever, the environment, the mountain, forces us to cool down.
Right, we shift.
We shift from our internal energy pushing outward, and we finally hit the hard reality of our surroundings. The process basically goes into reverse. It is time to start taking the mask off.
Which brings us to an incredibly vivid, almost startling image in the text.
What is it?
It describes a white horse arriving rapidly. At first glance, the rider looks like a robber or an attacker.
Okay.
But it turns out it is actually a suitor proposing a deep partnership.
I want to spend some time on this because the psychology here is so profound.
It really is.
Think about when you enter a deeply committed relationship or even like a high-stakes business partnership.
Right.
At a certain point, the glossy PR talk has to stop. You have to drop the script and show your actual hand. You have to reveal your flaws, your real financial numbers, your emotional baggage.
You have to strip away the defenses. You have to become white, which in this context just means blank, unadorned, and bare.
But doing that feels absolutely terrifying. Like when someone approaches you with raw, unvarnished honesty, demanding the same from you, why is our first instinct to feel attacked?
Yeah, they look like a robber trying to steal from us.
Exactly. Why is that?
Because the human brain does not always smoothly distinguish between physical safety and social safety.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. For years, your social mask has kept you safe from rejection. So when a partner or a situation demands that you remove that armor, your amygdala interprets that vulnerability as a literal threat.
Like a physical threat.
Yes. It triggers a fight or flight response. You literally feel like a robber is coming to steal your safety. You think, wait, you want to see the real me? You want to look at my actual messy life?
So the vulnerability physically feels like an ambush.
It does, but the vital insight here is that you have to push through that biological fear.
You have to face the robber.
Exactly. Pushing through the terror of being seen is the only way to establish a genuine partnership. The supposed robber is actually a suitor.
Wow.
If you keep the mask on, you stay perfectly safe, but you stay entirely alone. Dropping the mask is the required price of admission for real trust.
So we learn to drop the mask in our intimate partnerships. But what happens when the broader environment, like the outside world, forces you to strip back your packaging?
The framework calls this next phase meager silk in the hills.
Meager silk.
The scenario described is one where you are presenting a pitifully small amount of silk, like a very meager offering in the hills.
Sounds embarrassing.
It is. It causes acute temporary embarrassment, a feeling of inadequacy, but it ultimately leads to good fortune.
Okay, this immediately makes me think of an economic winter for a business, or even a personal financial crisis.
A perfect parallel.
Imagine the market shifts, funding dries up. Suddenly, a company has to cancel the flashy open bar holiday party. They have to stop flying their executives in premium cabins. They literally cut all the vanity projects.
It's a forced pragmatic downsizing.
And it is incredibly embarrassing at first. You have to look your peers or your competitors in the eye and essentially say, hey, we cannot afford the fancy silk anymore. We just have this little scrap. It feels like a massive failure of packaging. You completely lose face socially.
But we have to look at the mechanism of what actually happens during that downsizing. There is a hidden genius in this forced reduction.
Really? What is it?
Dropping the ego and accepting that social awkwardness acts as an automatic, highly efficient filter.
A filter for the people around you.
Yes. Think about who leaves when the perks disappear. The people who are only hanging around your company or your personal life for the free drinks and the status.
The people attached to your facade.
Exactly. They will scatter. The meager silk drives them away.
Which is super painful in the moment, but ultimately a relief.
Because the people who stay, the people who are willing to sit with you in the hills with your tiny scrap of silk,
Yeah.
those are your true allies. They are invested in the core mission, not the packaging. By stripping away the superficial layers, you actually save the structural integrity of the core.
That's amazing.
The embarrassment is temporary, but the strength of the relationships you retain is permanent.
Which finally brings us to the summit. We have survived the fire, we have faced the harsh realities of the mountain, and we arrive at the peak.
We do.
The framework calls this white by, the ultimate unadorned truth.
It really represents a pinnacle of personal development. All the artificial colors, the defensive posturing, the need to impress it has all faded away. You no longer need to manage an image or curate a persona. You are completely, unshakably grounded in your own reality.
So what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, how would you visualize it?
I think of it like encountering a true master in any field, say, a Michelin-starred chef.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. A novice line cook who is really insecure will try to impress you by putting like 15 different chaotic ingredients, foams, and garnishes on a plate, mostly just to hide the fact that they don't know how to sear the fish properly.
Yep, lots of packaging.
Exactly. But a master chef will hand you a plate with just 3 perfect elements: a beautifully cooked scallop, a hint of citrus, and a drop of exceptional oil.
Because the structure itself holds the value.
It's exactly.
The raw material is so undeniable that covering up would actually be an insult to the reality of the thing.
Wow.
When you reach this state in your own life, your actions, your character, and your reality are so aligned that they require zero translation for the outside world. You don't have to explain yourself. You just exist.
So the grand realization here is that the ultimate goal of packaging yourself isn't actually about adding more layers at all.
Not at all.
It is about peeling them back.
Yeah.
We start by doing the unglamorous groundwork in the garage, building our foundation.
There's no reading the toes.
Right. Then we enter society and learn the rules of the game. We put on the suit. We learn the jargon. We adopt the camouflage to survive.
You navigate the beard.
Yeah, and then we hit that exhausting, terrifying peak of the glossy image where the maintenance bill just threatens to bankrupt us.
And then the environment demands reality.
Right. We face the terrifying vulnerability of dropping our defenses in real partnerships, and we accept the temporary embarrassment of downsizing our egos during hard times.
Exactly.
The whole point of that journey is to eventually outgrow the need for the packaging entirely. We peel the layers back until the real structure is strong enough to stand in the light, completely unadorned.
And it is so crucial to remember that the framework does not judge the mask.
Right. It's not saying the mask is bad.
Exactly. Wearing a social mask isn't an evil act. It is a necessary tool for navigating a highly complex, frequently abrasive world.
We need those shock absorbers.
We really do, just to function in society. But we must never lose sight of the fact that it is merely a tool. It is a piece of clothing you put on. It is not your actual face.
So what does this all mean for you? As you go about your week, whether you're swiping through perfectly curated social media profiles, polishing up a resume for a new job, or just trying to navigate complex office dynamics, I want to leave you with a challenge to mull over.
That's a good one.
Think about your own life, your career, or your relationships right now. Which specific mask or packaging is currently costing you more psychological energy to maintain than the value it is actually bringing in? Where is that cognitive maintenance bill just getting way too high?
Yeah, where's the facade cracking?
Exactly. And what would happen if, just for today, you decided to simply drop it?